up. Thank you, thank you. All right, so we can go ahead and get started. Welcome to Let's Talk Leobela. My name is Galina Kaye. I'm the author of the book by the name of Leobela. And you are on Let's Talk Leobela with one of my very good friends and our reader of Leobela. Her name is Anjie Wolf. She's joining us today in the studio, and we're going to have some interesting conversations about what she found while reading the book. Mm-hmm. Anjie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Anjie Wolf. I'm 54 years old, mother of 3. My kids have recently flown the nest. They are in the Navy. One is in the Navy in Virginia, and 2 in college. They're in their sophomore year of college, twins, boy, girl, and a boy in the Navy. So, I found a lot of parenting and philosophy and really cool things in this book, and I'm super excited to have gotten a chance to read it and the chance to speak with the author. So
nice. Thank you, Anjie. And thank you so much for agreeing to have this dialogue and kind of in a public space. I am very excited to invite everybody to join us in our thoughts. So if you have any questions or something pops up for you that speaks to you, we'd love to hear your thoughts as well. So please try out the chat function in YouTube. As you know, this is a new adventure for me, and I'm learning YouTube as we go. So if there are any issues, I apologize in advance, but otherwise, we'd love to see your questions. We'd love to see your comments, your thoughts as we go. And we're going to take some thoughts in between our thoughts. So as we progress in our dialogue, we're going to see your questions, and we'd love to address them as well. Keeping with the format of this program, I'd like to start by allowing Anjie to read the parts of the book that spoke to her the most. And she actually chose one of my favorite chapters. That's chapter 11. And it talks about the conspiracy of the sister organization, and Dr. Ellie is having her first real dialogue with a girl named Cassie from the sister organization, this kind of underground governing party that is supposedly leading this conspiracy, or this the world itself, really, with ideas and ideals that were set well before our time. And the chapter opens up with the doctrine of sister, and moves on into a dialogue between Dr. Ellie and Cassandra, or Cassie. So because it's a dialogue, I offered for Anjie to do it as a dialogue, so you're going to hear it for both of us.
Right. Okay, so the purpose of the Watchers is to recognize and mitigate human-wide threat from within the human race. In other words, while most people are doing their best to defend against the outside enemy, the Watchers are working to find ways to prevent human self-destruction. Most often, Watcher organizations have used social structures, governments, and various forms of religion to help keep the general population under control. Watchers have found that the majority of people will follow rules and norms if they are passed down from their parents and teachers at an early age. Cassie takes pause.
So sister focuses on manipulating children for the safety of the human race? I can feel I'm getting ahead of Cassie's story.
Well, sister uses a variety of tools to help parents prepare children for the world, such as religious literature, fairy tales, and of course, monsters, she tries to explain.
Why monsters and fairy tales? I try to understand her logic.
Fear remains the best motivator for all people of all generations. Sister has been very successful at keeping humans safe by instilling fear in each child with the help of their parents. When fear is not enough, and a child's natural physical, emotional, or mental abilities exceed parental control, schools and teachers come to help, she continues.
How can teachers help? I continue to chime in with questions.
Sister has worked with the school systems across the world to mitigate potential future threats from younger generations. Schools have taken on different shapes and styles in different countries and times. However, one thing has stayed consistent. They are the most trusted institutions by parents, and therefore can help shape the minds of children with parental permission. Some schools have separate classrooms for special children, The classification of a special child came as a result of trying to separate the children that resist standard brainwashing. This way, the job of an average teacher in an average classroom is more defined and prescriptive. At the same time, the special classrooms get staffed with special teachers and use alternative tools to help keep children safe. If a child continues to act out, even in a special classroom, pediatricians are here to help.
That's the part I read in the doctrine that you gave me, I realized.
Yes, Cassie confirms. Pediatricians help parents in schools keep their kids under control by prescribing balancing medications. If a child is physically active, there's medication for hyperactivity. If they are mentally active, there's medication for hypercognitivity. The main job of pharmaceuticals is to keep children safe by keeping them as close to the average of the previous generation as possible.
That is true. I remember when hypercognitivity first became a diagnosis in the late 2020s. I was a graduate of school at that time, and I have to say I was appalled at this diagnosis when I first learned of it. I explain.
Cassie nods and continues. Norms and standards are based on statistics, which are based on data, which needs to be collected over time. Therefore, the average toward which this industry works is always a generation behind the people that it is treating. The medical field, with some help from Sister, has created diagnoses for all three pillars of human abilities. Children born with higher physical activity are diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD. Those with higher emotional sensitivity get labeled as Asperger kids or some other form of autism. The newest of these three diagnoses is HCD, hypercognitivity disorder. For every disorder, there are medications, treatments, and educational programs that work to either move each individual closer to the average or to isolate the individuals from the general population.
This is monstrous. How can something like this work for so long? I interrupt her explanation.
There are rules, she explains patiently. First, we are a secret organization and must stay secret forever. If some part of the organization is discovered, a new branch would appear somewhere else in the world and would act independently, carrying out a purpose. Second, the Watcher organization is never to exceed 1% of the total human population of the planet. Watchers are here to prevent disasters. If too many people became Watchers, the organization would naturally need its own Watchers. Third, a person can only become a member of the organization before their 10th birthday. Watchers are specially selected and trained their whole lives to see more than the average person can observe. A person has to be identified as uniquely talented to become a Sister. I was selected when I was 7, she concludes.
Do you know how people decided that Watchers were necessary? It sounds like it almost naturally evolved in the population, but is being kept secret artificially. I draw my own conclusion from her explanation.
There are many theories about the origins of Watchers and why Sister still exists. One of the reasons I wanted to meet you is that I'm having philosophical doubts about the purpose for the existence of the Watcher organization. I asked you to come here because I think you can help me work through them, she explains.
Thank you, Angie. Like I said, it's definitely the part where the conspiracy in the book starts to open up and really reveals the differences between Leobela as an educational system versus a Watcher program, right? The Sister program that identifies the unique, the special people from the population and tries to evolve as picking the special, the more important people out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this is philosophically and kind of the heavier part of the book that can open up a lot of questions.
Sure.
What did it open up for you?
Well, it made me just wonder how being labeled as hypercognitive or hyper intelligent or hyper, how that makes us more vulnerable to be picked off by certain, thought organizations and how, kids are thought that that's a great thing, but then sometimes it can make you more susceptible to certain social things. Makes sense?
Absolutely, yeah. So hyper in the sense of you're better than others, right? And always it has that cognition, that connotation of being positive or better, and then at the same time it being difficult to deal with for teachers, and for the parents and so on. So it's almost like a curse and a gift, so to speak.
Yeah.
But we're really just talking about the same individual, just one person who
Right.
has to live with all that.
Right. And I love the ideas that the Ellie's educational program put in place to sort of have people learn what their talents are and not be disallowed to embrace those or make the most of those and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So with Leobela, it's what makes you special is the fact that you are you, right? You don't have to prove that you're special. You don't have to prove that you're unique, that you are worthy, which counterposes this notion of a sister organization that's always existed in the society, or for as long as they can trace back, has always been around because we've always needed the more important, the special people, the ones that can break through the boundaries and make us all whole again, right? Something over us that's going to help us guide, be the guiding light versus in Leobela, it really points out that each of us is a guiding light, and you don't have to be labeled special. You don't have to be labeled gifted or hyper or hypo anything.
Right.
So, can you tell me a little bit about maybe your experience or growing up with any sort of labels or anything?
Sure, absolutely. I found it, very interesting because my mother was reading at a very young age, and therefore when she was in first grade, she was being distracting in the classroom, and so she was put in second grade, and she didn't get to experience the first grade in an emotionally growing way, and she was put among children that weren't her age and then treated like a bit of an outcast. At least she felt so, because she was younger and she didn't have all of the emotional growth that she might have needed to be, and she never really felt like she fit in. So then when I was given some basic testing that they do in first grade myself, and they said, oh, she should be gifted and talented, and she should be put, my mom was like, no, I'm not going to isolate my daughter in the way that I was isolated, and so my education. So we just wonder, how do you find that happy medium of not stifling, but not making your child feel excluded from.
And as a parent, how did you draw on that experience?
Sure. I kind of let the education system be, like I would put my kids in extra things outside of school. If they needed a little bit of catching up on one thing or another, I would allow the child to decide. My oldest, he didn't want to be in the advanced higher. He wanted to stay among his peers that he considered friends. So I kind of gave them more of a choice in it than doing it for them.
That's great, yeah. And we actually have a question from our audience. Do you think social media helps children become unique or stand out?
I think that probably does more harm than good in this area, but I do believe there are some ways it gives people unique ways to share their talents with the world that they probably wouldn't have an opportunity to do in without it or whatever, because I don't know, that's a good question.
I think we have a comparison, unlike maybe our children will. Maybe I don't know. Did your kids grow up at a time with no social media, or was it always around?
I think it hit pretty early for them. Yeah, like TikTok became and things like that, and kids started becoming more affected by things that people posted and about other people at school. And I think it kind of hit right in the middle of their adolescence and where they were getting to become preteens and things. So
yeah, I think for me, I can draw back on my experience and say that even not even with the development of social media, but even with my development of using social media, I discovered that you don't have to compete so much with others on their level, right? Like, I don't have to be the best athlete, I don't have to be the smartest one in the room. That uniqueness comes from what you define yourself to be. And to me, social media both expresses that as well as stifles it. So on one hand, it allows you to think about yourself in a different capacity. We're no longer just being measured with grades. We're not just being measured with trophies. You have a slew of metrics that you could you could go for. At the same time, as soon as you try something and you put it out there for people to judge or to evaluate, you're now being really vulnerable and open
Right.
to that judgment and to that evaluation. So it can both be a driver, in my opinion, it can be a driver because you now have so many different ways of expressing yourself. And at the same time, it can be very stifling in that it kind of,
Right.
if you don't have the right number of likes or if you don't
Sure.
have the right number of followers or subscribers, you're not good enough. And I think that is just the way that we are used to being measured and the way that we grow up.
Totally. Yeah, it's scary when the number of likes is where self-love comes from, because it's not always going to be there every day. So you gotta help our kids become, intrinsically motivated to be their best and do their best when no one's watching, when it's not, right?
What are your motivators for kind of that intrinsic?
I love being able to feel good when I'm going to sleep at the end of the night, knowing throughout the day, I did my best, and the people I care about know I'm there for them, and things like that. Being a good human. I did think one of the things I loved about this book is the goodness in people and the trust in other people and the ability to assume positive of others, even though there were people that you could have turned on each other pretty quickly in this book. I felt like I loved the way that they gave the other the opportunity to explain the position, and I really liked the goodness of the people in the book. Everybody seemed to, at the heart, want the best.
Yeah, I think that Dr. Ellie's character is definitely that personification of acceptance, of you can't be bad because you're human. And I will look for the good in you, whether you're a small child or a professional in, she has a lot of respect for the mayor of Irene.
Mm-hmm.
You can see that throughout the book, as well as, people in no power at all. She has full respect and full curiosity for what they have to offer. And then when she meets people like Cassie, it's a very conflicted situation, because here she is meeting with somebody from a different society, a party an organization that she probably would never be part of, especially given the choice, when you're specifically emphasizes that you have to be under 10 years old to even enter this organization. So it's presumably an age when your decision making is very influenced by other people. So here she is as an adult. She's looking at this girl and she sees only the positive in her situation, and trying to rescue her from where she inadvertently got into way before she could make any decisions.
Right.
So she's always looking for the good in people, recognizing at the same time, and not being too naive, because there are definitely parts of the book where there's a bit of an adventure and some mystery and some crime happening, and you can see that she has an ability to judge and to evaluate the situation and say, okay, this is a good guy, this is a bad guy, we shouldn't follow this one. At the same time, understanding where they're coming from and what makes them the way they are.
Yeah. So I guess the thing I want for the children, the youth, is to just love being a good person and realize that there's a lot of joy just in that, not in likes and not in, being normal and fitting in, but just in, at the end of the day, making kind choices as a default.
Yeah. We have another question. In your book, all children are pretty happy individuals. Do you believe that all children can be happy? Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of an idealistic view of things, but I do believe that happiness is our default state. I believe that in the morning, everything right the night before, you're gonna wake up happy. And at the end of the day, it's really keeping yourself happy all day, all year, and as long as possible. Happiness is a state of being. It's not somewhere you get to. And you have a choice no matter how difficult your situation is, you still have a choice over your emotions. And it's been shown that brains in the positive and the happy, they're more capable. We're more capable of achieving things. We're more capable of driving towards our own goals than when brains are in stressed situations, in a stress mode. So I think all people, not just children, I think all people are first and foremost happy, and then it's what takes away from that. It's the energy that takes away from that we have to be aware of.
Interesting.
What about you, Angie?
Yeah, as a new thought I hadn't given, I think we're kind of born feeling safe and loved, and we do start out, happy, and then it's as we encounter situations that the way we process them, the way we're held through those situations, and that we begin to get distracted by unhappy things, and then sometimes those distractions become big more often than so I do believe I believe that too. I think we're born and we want to get to that happy state again, but it's really hard to distract ourselves from the distractions.
Very true, very true. Yeah, as you were saying that, I actually remembered when I was starting grad school in California. It was a long time ago in 2007. And first, before I even got there was an interview process, and the interview process was fun and exciting. And it was kind of both ways because you knew that you already made it grade-wise and everything like that, and this is more just, are you the right fit for the program? And it was a few days, maybe 3 or 4 days of spending time with the other grad students and the professors and talking about what program you're going to choose and all that. And of course, the first thing everyone wants to know is like, what's so hard about this? Like, now that I got here, like, is this going to be really hard? What's going to be the demanding part of it? And the students that have been there for 3 to 4 years, you can see just like it's taxing on them, and they're tired and they're exhausted, and they're like, well, you'll just see how hard this is. And I'm like, but it's exciting. You get to do your own project. You get to pick your own thing, and you get to work on it for the next 5 years of your life. And they're like, yeah, you do. And I'm like, so what do you have to do? Like, what is it? And like, well, you have to publish 3 papers. All you have to do is publish 3 papers. And I'm like, And they're like, yeah, you'll see how hard it is. You'll just see. And I think it took probably about a month or 2 of getting from where I was to it really only took a couple of months to get to that. Yes, it is hard work. It is every day. It is daunting. It is difficult, and it's hard to keep your eyes on the prize every day. But if you are working towards your own goal, and if it's not just to be good for somebody else, and it's not just to be good for others, and you have your own goal in mind, I think that it's not impossible to turn that dial towards the positive.
Yeah, but attitude is really important, right? And how you observe your sufferings or your struggles or the hard parts. It's how you separate them, compartment that into your state of being or your state of happiness, right?
Yeah, and even hormonally, if you think about like humans, the way we're built is if you're running away from something, if you're afraid and you're running away, you're getting away. It's adrenaline and cortisol pumping through your blood, so you're really in a stressed state. But as soon as you're running towards something, you have a goal. So if you're running away, there's a bunny. We have the same hormones as bunnies. If a bunny is running away from a wolf, its adrenaline is pumping through its veins. Once it sees a tree it can climb and get away from the wolf, now it becomes noradrenaline. So your hormones fully change, and now it becomes the negative, the scary, the impossible becomes the vision, the possible, the goal, and even your hormones will get you there faster, better, happier.
Right.
And that's where the happiness comes from. Are you going for your goal, or are you just running away from stuff?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a good question.
I wanted to know, as you read the book, what really maybe opened up something from your childhood, or something that maybe you wish somebody would have treated you that way?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I feel like I said, I think as things happen to you, the way you're taught us things, and the way our brains interpret, events in our lives and register them as, I think that continues to shape you the rest of your life. I mean, at my age, I'm working more on my childhood events and how to rewire the way my body, or I process those, and going through in my relationship, figuring out how to soften the amygdala, the fear of getting you're in danger when something simple and not dangerous is happening to you, right? And trying to really, unpack that and learn how to kind of heal that child that didn't get the comfort maybe from the parents or the siblings or the people around them when they were a child, that kind of stuff. So I think the way we help our children, we don't want them to not have anything happen to them, because then they don't learn how to process that. But I wish I'd had more coaching at a younger age on how to deal with troubling things that happen in my life.
And do you feel like now you're gaining those tools and you're able to pass them
The
along?
awareness is definitely getting there. I definitely have, always have a lot more work to do, and I love the project. The project of becoming the best version of myself, and I love that isn't over, right? You don't get there and it's good. It's like, wait, got to reassess how best, So.
Absolutely, yeah. That's and I think that is what I've come to after writing Leobela is I thought I was writing about people, right, at different ages, and as the book developed, I felt like maybe I was writing about children, or am I writing about their teachers, the people that surround those children? Where do I find myself looking at this? And I do find myself being the child. I find myself being the Dr. Ellie. I find myself being the old doc,
Right.
like you can position yourself really in any of those. And when you learn how to reposition yourself in the moment, and when you are struggling, and so many times that I've been in situations where I need somebody to take care of me, and that, like, no matter how old you are, you need somebody to take care of you. You need that parental figure in that moment. And then, no matter how young you are, there are definitely experiences where you come through as the adult in the situation. And for me, Leobela was very, as I was writing it, and especially afterwards, was very eye-opening as to there's not really that huge separation between children and adults. It's the same person,
Right.
going through different stages of their life, and it's really, I can put myself in my 7-year-old head now, I think.
One of the things I really loved in the book that the kids did is that they started their careers at young ages and took on that experience of contributing. and then taking that home and being proud of their contributions and learning that, I think that would be great for kids today. I know I started working at a very young age. I was babysitting and doing newspaper routes from like 11 years old. And so my work ethic is still extremely strong. I still absolutely love my job and love working. I work hard. But I think that getting that into a lot of children these days are not working until they're out of college, and they're not figuring out like what makes them tick in a career,
Yeah, and even as an employer, it's usually, I've managed lots of teams, and I've even seen places where I would love to put this 14-year-old or this 13-year-old and have them do this work because it's going to be interesting to them, versus a 32-year-old doing the same work and they're going to be bored, right? And I've looked for those opportunities, and even just working with permits for work and stuff like that, it becomes a challenge. I think our society is discouraging of the children in the workplace, and I think that it's in a way it is protecting them, and that goes back to kind of what we were talking about with safety and protection of that's also touched on in the book. And it's a fine line of protecting the children, but also not taking away from their contribution, their ability to contribute. I started working, I was very lucky, my middle school allowed us to serve lunches and get paid for it. So my first job was when I was 11, and such a big deal to earn your first 20 bucks. I still remember it. It's very character developing, being there on time, making sure you do your job right. You have a boss, and it's different than being in school. It's different than having a teacher, and it's different than doing your assignment. It's not more demanding. I wouldn't say it's more demanding than doing a homework assignment. It's different, and to me, it was more rewarding, and it still is. And I still go to school very much so here and there. I find myself studying for different tests and different stages of my life, and I still have to admit that working and being part of a team and achieving goals that we set together as a team, it is more rewarding than studying for a test and being in school. So I think that was part of I wanted to bring our attention as a society to the fact that children are not only here for learning, they are very capable individuals, and they can bring something to the workplace. And I spend a couple of chapters describing different ways that they contribute.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Thank you. Okay, we have a book about, question. I'd like to know how your book inspired Anjie.
Yeah, what inspired me to read it? Well, I found out that Galina had written a book, and I was very excited to get it. I ordered 2 copies because I accidentally left one in one of my living spaces and had to have another. I read the first few chapters over a few weeks, and then once I got going, I couldn't put it down. I loved the book. I love the concepts of rethinking our children education and rethinking our kids' education and work-life balance and all of the different aspects of is great. So I had so much fun reading it. I think it gets really exciting. I love the twists and turns. So, but what inspired me is found out she wrote a book, and I loved it. And I love talking to Galina, and I love the way I kind of felt her telling me the story, because I knew her voice, and it was really enjoyable to read the book.
Thank you so much.
I highly recommend.
Thank you. Yeah, I when writing, I did